Hello everyone, it's nearing the end of 2025 and I wanted to finish with another video before the end of the year. So this particular video we're going to be talking about the SMS series, which is in this series right here. If we go into this, we have a variety of axes. These axes are all IO-Link, and these axes are meant to replace pneumatic cylinders. So the axes are very simple. That's why it's called Simplified Motion Series, and it's meant to be end-to-end, and with the newer firmware it has an intermediate position. So this particular IO-Link device series is, in this particular video, going to be talking to a Allen Bradley 5032 8IOL, which is an ArmorBlock Allen Bradley IO-Link master. And from a topology view, we have a PLC, and the PLC is communicating over Ethernet IP to the IO-Link master from Rockwell, and channel 0 port is communicating IO-Link to the ELGS ball screw, which is one of the SMS series axes. And the first thing we want to do is we want to open up some user manuals for the Rockwell. So I have this user manual for the ArmorBlock, and if I go to page 12, I think, yeah, 12, the first thing we need to understand from a user is the compatibility of the 8IOL to software versions and hardware. So as written in the user manual, version 35 or later is the required Logix Designer software, and then we only have some controllers that are applicable. So in my case, I'm using a 5069 L310 ERM-S2, which is this device right here. And so this is part of the 5380, still two controllers. This is the starting point. You need this as a minimum. You need this, otherwise nothing's going to work. And the next point about the 8IOL is the compatibility of software within the Logix software. So if we go to the website for Rockwell and we type in 5032-IOL, try this again. There's my device. Click on this. We notice here that we have a couple of versions. And if we go further into this, we can download the version. So if we go to downloads, you would continue. The first thing you do is select the files, and you'll see here that we have firmware 2.012. That needs to be installed on the 5032 8IOL, and then the add-on profile is what gets installed for the Logix Designer software. So I've already installed those two. Hopefully you know what you're doing and you can install those UI yourself. I'm not going to do everything for you. But basically those are what we're starting with. That's the starting point for compatibility. And prior versions to that, they all have certain bugs. That's why they've been updated. And you may have some anomaly happening. So what I've done to start off the project is I have created a Logix Designer project. I basically did new, and I basically selected the PLC. So just to make sure that we have understanding what firmware is in everything, I have the 5069 L310, and just the safety, I have version 35 software. I've got it configured for linear mode, which really is relevant in this situation. Then if we go to Ars Links, do a scan on the network, wait for the scan to complete. We'll see that when we right click and go to the device properties, we're using version 35.01 3 firmware. And for the IO-Link master, we are using the 2012 firmware. So those are mandatory for this particular setup, and that's our starting point. So in my project, I have everything working, and now we're going to select new module under the Ethernet port, and we're going to add the 5032-8 IOL. I'll pause the video when we're having delays on Rockwell. Basically 5032-8. If I can type 5032-8. So this is my device. I'm going to say create. And then we're going to do a quick configuration. So the first thing you do is give it a name. I'm going to give it IOL for IO-Link number 1, and I'm going to give it my IP address, which I've already defined in the device itself. Now we're going to do the module definition, and this has to match, so 012, and we're going to do data with Ethernet status. And now I'm going to configure IO-Link for channel 0, and I'm going to turn off these other ones real quick. Okay, hit OK, accept the default changes. Now it updates this area, and at this point I'm not going to change anything else. I've made a basic configuration and everything's going to be good from this point. So I'm going to hit OK. Now the next step is to add the IODD file for the IO-Link device, which is the Festo product. So in order to do this, we need to go to the website, and we need to go to specifically the ELGS in my case. You would basically type in the type code or the part number and get the exact details, and then you come into this area under software and downloads, and we find the IODD file. So I guess another point is that I'm using version 1906.16 firmware, which has a few extra features, and I'm going to download this right now. So I'm going to click on this link and download it. And when you've downloaded the file and you've unzipped it, you will find you have a variety of IODD files. And in my case, this is my IODD file right here. So if I zoom in, this file, the ELGS-BS ball screw 2021-0504, that is my desired file. And we need to register that IODD file. So there's 2 ways. Maybe there's 3 on your system. Basically, from the drop-down menu in your Logix Designer software, you can click on EDS, wait for the pop-up, and then we click on Next, say Register, and then we find that file. And you select the file, you say Open, say Next, and then you continue and you'll register until you get a finish. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do this further. At this point, you might have to wait 2-3 minutes for the Rockwell library to update before you can continue in the project. You won't be able to click anything. And then you come down to this IO-Link, and you simply say New Module. And for whatever type of SMS device you have, in my case the ELGS, whichever one you registered, now you come in through here, you put in the value and say create. At this point we need to name this. So IOL1 CH0 for channel 0. And because we're doing a basic project, I'm going to turn everything off. So I'm going to disable keying. I'm going to turn off this, turn off that. We need data. So data storage is disabled, automatic device configuration is disabled, and so on and so forth. Hit OK, yes, accept everything, and we're done. So at this point, everything is offline. Hit OK, close, and at this point, I could do a download, but normally you have to pick the project path. So I'm going to just go Who, and wait for it to scan the pick the PLC, set the project path, close, and then at this point you can just download using this. So I'm going to download, and at this point everything should be working without any errors. But I forgot to put a JSR in, so I'll just quickly go into the main routine here, or actually have a JSR from leftover code. Again, we'll do a download, sorry. And when we're done, we put the project into run mode. And let's go to the properties of each device. So the 5032-8IL is up and running without any problems. For some reason this is still configured for 14. Maybe I missed something. Yeah, I missed this one. Sorry about that. It's irrelevant. But basically we have this. Diagnostics. Nothing there. Nothing there. Anyway, this is up and running without any problems. Again, if I go to the properties of the device for the SMS, we're up and running, no problems, connections, no module faults, everything's good. So at this point, I can start playing with things. So the first thing that we want to do with the device is we want to correlate the information of parameters to the IO-Link master and the software. So as we read this information about this, we need to first inhibit the connection. So I'm going to inhibit the module, hit apply, yes. Then we go over to here, it notices that there's a difference. I'm going to say use device, which is uploading from the device. And it's going to populate everything. And then I hit apply. And I'll inhibit it, uninhibit it, and let it run. Yes. So at this point, I can close everything. Everything's running. I can go to my controller tags, go to monitor, and I have IO-Link channel 0, process data out, and IO-Link process data in. And right now, in and out are both on. I'm gonna, if you read the manuals, you'll see that when they're both on, that means there's a fault. So at this point, I can simply come in here, reset the fault using the quit error, turn this back off, and now I'm just going to move this page around so we can see the device. So we have the device right now. It has the yellow LED on solid, and we have the IO-Link master, which is yellow. And if I put the move out on, enter, you'll see that the axis moved this way and then move forward. Well, that's because on first power up, the device does a home or reference before it does its first movement. So I'll put this back at a 0, do a move in. Now it's moving towards its home position or the motor, and you can move this back and forth. You can move it to the intermediate position, so on and so forth. So everything's working. But the only thing I can say is typically before you start using the bits, you need to have some status. So I'm just going to quickly do a save and go offline. And I'm going to add a routine with some status bits. And we would just do an add new routine, and we basically give it a name, and I'm going to quickly add some code. So what I've done here is I've added some hardware information. I've added some status of both the IO-Link master and the channel, and I've given some label descriptions to the inputs. These ones here in particular shows you that when they're both on, that the fault exists, so on and so forth. So at this point, I've also got a jump subroutine to this routine in the main, so this one right here, and now I'm going to do a download, just so that we can get a better visual on what we're doing. Keep an eye on the status, because when we go from program to run mode, these status should be changing. So now we're in run mode, everything's good, and if I was to cycle power to both the IO-Link master and the device, turn back on. It's going to pause the video while it's starting up. So keep an eye on this yellow. So the IO-Link master is the first thing to come online, and then the device. And you were looking at status messages up here. We have a device error. As we said, we have these two bits on, so we quit the error. Quit the error, we get the status up here going okay, and again I'm going to move out, which is supposed to be going all this way, but you'll see that it goes back because this is the first time we've started up. So right now it's finding its reference position, and then it'll go at the proper speed to the move out position, and then from then on we're going to move out, intermediate, and so forth. So this is the simplicity of the simplified motion series actuators. And I have a couple other videos on YouTube for the more advanced features. So we have the data storage option, and also we have the Rockwell ADC or automatic device configuration features. So look for YouTube videos on the other two, but this one's very basic and this one's done. There'll be sample code that you can click on the link underneath this video. So good luck. Thanks.